I'm going to kick it off with Malcolm. So Malcolm, if you want to come onto the stage, mate, we'll kick you off.
Lovely. The clicker as well?
Yep.
Okay, well, first of all, thank you very much. As I was saying earlier, having spent 20 years in the e-commerce arena and done a few talks and lectures in the past, I was really pleased to be invited on the stage to talk to you about starting an e-commerce business. And then I was given 10 minutes to unload 20 years worth. I mean, has anybody seen Macbeth on the back of a stamp? But I'm going to give it a go, and I'm going to apologise. Now, I know it's the wrong thing to do to apologise before I even start, but the slides, they're full of words. And it's just to tell you, just to give you an idea of what's involved. I'm going to give you an overview. I've tried to do the, just get it all in there into 10 minutes. But there's a lot of resources that we know about, and I'm love talking about it. So if anybody's got questions, I'm happy to talk at any time. We'll have a coffee or whatever. I just love e-commerce. I've forgotten what I was going to say, but I'll just get straight into it and go on to it. Oh, the one thing I have done, as Jesse has said, I've assumed, and I've gone from the very start. And everybody here might have products, might have a well-established site, know exactly what they're doing. But what I'm trying to get through in 10 minutes is where you start from. You know, you've just got an idea. I want to be in e-commerce. What do I do? So I've broken it down into what I believe to be 4 main areas that if you're starting an e-commerce business, here we go. There's the product, there's the research and prep, there's the store, of course, and then there's the post-launch, and that just goes on and on and on. So I'm just going to get into it. I've got 10 minutes, so I'm going to shut up about that, but here we go. So that's what I mean about too many words, and I'm going to come over here and get in front of that bit, because basically the first bit, when I'm talking about the product itself, is what is it? What are you going to sell? Where do you find it? What do you want to sell? And often, as I've said up there in the words, and I won't look at that, I'll look at you guys, is that's often the hardest thing, to actually find the product or products or product line to actually sell online. And there are ways to do it. I'm going to come over here at the moment. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to refer to one of my recent clients, or old client as well, which is a company called Silly George. I don't know if everybody knows it. Basically, they sell magnetic eyelashes. Anybody heard of those, the ladies? Yeah. But okay, and it's big, basically. And I'm going to map them against this because I've been through the journey with them. Last year, they turned over with this one product. Well, there were a few other products, 4.5 million. And this is the way they started, effectively. First of all, they wanted the product. So they went out there and they started to look at the things that you need to look at when you're searching for a product. I'm not going to read the list, but I'll go through it quickly. So basically, if you can solve a pain point, that's a brilliant one. And apparently, the eyelash market was full of pain points. You can appeal to enthusiastic hobbyists. Is it a fad? Is it a personal passion? Personal experience? Well, with the eyelashes, apparently, the lady was in fashion, and this is one of those things that was causing an awful lot of pain points in her industry. You can read through the list yourself. I'm not going to go through it. You know, capitalizing on an early trend. They got into the marketplace. They did their research, which I'll come on to. It all intertwines, and found that the magnetic eyelash was coming into the marketplace. So they got out there and they went to find out where they could find it. You can do things like you can look for product opportunities in keywords. There's all these things, like I'm saying, look, talk to me afterwards, because there's all these different things that you can do to try and find that wonder product, because that's what you want. But basically, you've got to research it, you've got to find the one that's got the high profit margin. There's all these different variables that you've got to go through. And I'm just going to shut up because I'm using up my 10 minutes. But basically, product number 1, finding your product. Second thing with products is to evaluate that idea. So you go through, you found this product you think that's there, but you've got to sense check it, because so many people just get that first point, just start to run. And a lot of people fall by the wayside. There are some successful people who just go with it and run with it, but you should evaluate it. And this is somebody talking who's done the running and getting burnt, falling over, getting up and starting again, and found that actually if you do the hard yard, you're actually going to get the best results. And again, look, I'm sorry, there's this massive list of bits and pieces, but basically these are the sort of things that you need to actually evaluate. You know, Is it a valid product idea? Are you going to make any money out of it? Or is it just a loss leader? Then you've got to find that product. So you've decided what product you want, you've evaluated it, you reckon that, yep, there's a marketplace out there, there's people want it, there's an idea, it all validates itself. Then you've actually got to get the product. And you've got to get it in such a way that you can actually sell it. You know, what do you do? Do you actually make it yourself? Some products people make it themselves. In the hobby market, that's a viable e-commerce or even just a retail proposition. Wholesale and purchasing it, but obviously then you've got to find a wholesaler, you've got to get the price point, you've got to be able to actually get the quantity breaks, etc., etc. Then you can find manufacturers to actually make the product from scratch. Then you've got to store it, and distribution are one of the things that you've got to take into consideration. There's the drop shipping options, and there's also the combination options. If you're really going big and you've got different countries, you can manufacture here, you can deliver there, or you can drop ship here, etc., etc. So again, all I'm showing you is all the bits that you've got to consider. But basically, if you think back to the 4 things, this is the first. You've got to find that product. Next thing is your research and preparation. Now, basically, once you've found your product, you've evaluated the potential, and you've sourced your supplier, great, that's absolutely fine. But now you've got to actually go out there and do further research. Who else is out there selling it? Who are you up against? If you suddenly found this fantastic product, absolutely viable, but every big chain is selling exactly the same thing, etc., etc. But you can also use this type of research to actually try and find your edge in the marketplace. So the guys, or I should refer back to the guys at the Silly George with the eyelashes, basically they went and did a whole competitor analysis across their whole marketplace and basically found what was wrong with the marketplace. It was being sold cheap, they were cheap and nasty, there was no quality. The big thing, nobody had an applicator. Apparently these things are a nightmare to put on, etc., etc. It's even harder than an IKEA bed for the kids. So basically, you look at your competitors and you work out what your edge is going to be, and you check your validation, etc., etc. You've got to make sure you also know your customers. People do, and I've seen it, get wound up in their product, wound up in their own fulfillment and their own how I'm going to do this. I've got this great idea how I'm going to actually be able to deliver it, and this, that, and the other. What they haven't actually started to do is actually learn about their customer, because that's the person who's actually going to buy it. That's the person that's going to have to appeal to, etc., etc. And then you've got to write your business plan. I know it's an old adage, but this is the one thing that I say to everybody who comes in to see us. And we're a consultancy and we do a hell of a lot of e-commerce work. It sounds arrogant, but I get a lot of people come in with these great ideas. They sit down and we will talk to anybody. And the first thing we say is, where's your business plan? 50 to 60% of people haven't got a business plan, so we send them away and say, come back with your business plan. Maybe 5% of those come back, which is great. Not the other half have got a business plan, which is probably about 30 reams thick. It's this massive document that details every little thing. And those guys, we say, well, you go away and put that into 2 sides of A4. Because basically a business plan is literally a roadmap. So it's just a simulation of all your thoughts to put it together and determine how you're going to get there, that sort of thing. The 30 pages are good stuff, but basically that's the appendices 1, 2, 3, down to 30, etc., etc. So, product, research and preparation. Then you come to the exciting bit, the sexy bit. You build your store. We've all seen those wonderful stores that are out there, these absolutely fantastic looking branded stores, designed to the hilt and this, that, and the other. But what I say is just forget all of that. Go back to a checklist. And one of the big things to me is you've got to select the platform that's right for you and your business. And what you need to do is create a map, a checklist. One of the first talks I did here at a Shopify talk over here was about creating this checklist, making sure that you actually sit down and you work out whatever your store is, whatever platform it is, be it Magento, Shopify, BigCommerce, there's hundreds of them. They just keep rolling off the tongue. But basically you start off with, what do I need? What do I need for my business? What are the functionalities that I need? Also, what do I need for my customer? You create this checklist and then you map all of these alternatives against that. Obviously you include your budget in there, because obviously you might have a map that says you need this, but you can only afford that. So you've got to put those variables there, and you've got to map your choices against that. Because if you don't, you will end up with something that doesn't suit. And that's a real painful situation. You must have a dedicated e-commerce solution. This is one of my big things, and we spend a lot of time, and it's great for us, repurposing sites that have been built on X because it was cheap, because it was easy, which is fair enough. You've got to get started somewhere, and if you're just testing an idea, that's fine. But it hits a brick wall, and things rapidly hit a brick wall unless you actually find an e-commerce solution, something that's built as a shop, not built as a brochure site that also does shopping. So that's one of my biggies. Map it against your requirements. Remember, it's got to work for the customer on the front end and you on the back end. And both of those are unbelievably important. The guys at Silly George, I will keep coming back to them. If you go and look at their website at the moment, it's the most appalling website in the whole world. Now, my company is web design, development, consultancy, but yada, 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 all things e-commerce. When they came to us and they told us what they wanted, basically what they needed was just a vehicle to sell this product. The whole marketing solution basically was get it out there, send them here, buy it. It was one product, effectively. They needed worldwide coverage because of the marketplaces they were going to be in from their business plan. They needed some real good fulfillment and delivery solutions across the world or across the areas they were going to cover. But basically the website itself, it was a template, and the most basic template we could find because there was no need to spend money on that. It was actually built on a very high-end, well, it was built on the Shopify Plus system. I don't know if people know that, but basically it's an expensive route, but it gave them the ability to have multi-stores across continents and sell in different currencies, and had some, we did a fair bit of work with API integration for the shipping and the integration and that side of things. So basically, they did the checklist of what they needed, then we found the store and built the store to fit that. So if you actually go and look at the store, I suggest you do, it's actually been tidied up a bit, but when you first there, it's appalling. It just looks like a school project, but it sells, and it sold 4.5 million last year. Don't forget when you're doing analysis, sorry, I'm reiterating stuff I've already said. A lot of startup e-commerce sites and the rest of it, one of their biggest limitations to me is their marketing side of things. You're forever working with an arm behind your back. You've got to remember that one of your main marketing tools, not your marketing strategy, it's a completely separate thing, but your marketing tool is your website. That's where it's all going to happen. That's where things are going to dance around, and you're going to offer this, offer that, allowed to do subscriptions, etc., etc. So your website platform has got to allow you to do that, or have the ability to open that up for a developer to actually be able to plug that in for you. It's got to be able to grow, and that's a real difficult one, because I know a lot of people come to us and they say, we just want to test the water. We're just going to dip a toe in. We just want to see whether this is going to work. We don't want to spend a fortune, and you can do that these days. You don't have to plow tens of thousands into something to find out whether it's going to work or not. You can actually plug in, we reckon about 3 or 4 grand into the actual startup. I then say you've got to double, treble that for the marketing over 2 to 3 years if you're actually going to really test something seriously. But again, that's quite cheap in this day and age. You've got to look at your running costs. A lot of things, they look cheap on the outside, but if they're flaky, if you're ever going to need your developer every month to be spending God knows what, if you need massive server space, etc., that's why I do like some of these systems that are out there where you pay your monthly costs and everything's covered for you. You know, I am an advocate for Shopify, but I've done them all, and that sort of model, although they do take a cut of what you do, does allow you to basically just forget about all the rest of it, just focus on running your business. Then there's all the other bits and pieces, the payment options, the fulfillment. I'll get that into 10 minutes, but I'm going to move on to the next thing. So you've built your store. That was quick. You've got your store there. Then we start with the post-launch. Now, this is the bit where I grew up. I'm an advertising man, marketing man, e-commerce marketing from the 90s. And today's marketplace is full of online marketeers. It's big and it's very, very successful, but it needs a strategy, it needs a plan. You don't just start doing what it says in the book. You don't just stick in all those apps. You've actually got to have a strategy. You've also got to be flexible. When you've built your machine, you've got to feed it. And to me, the essentials, and that's all I'm going to go on about because I've not got a lot of time in this, is when you first start, you need that targeted traffic. Now, I'm not going to go into what that is or how you do it, but if you just remember those things, and when you're talking to your marketing or you're searching marketing, just search for targeted traffic. It is crucial to a new store. You can utilize free traffic sources. I mean, to me, the important thing is going after the low-hanging fruit. When you've started, you've done all this research, you've found out what's going to sell, you're going to find out who's going to sell to, so go for them. But do your research and find out how you're going to get to them. So I'm not giving away any trade secrets, I'm just almost preaching to you, but still that's it. Paid advertising. Now, okay, I'm an old ad man. To me, it is fantastic. It is absolutely fantastic. In this day and age, paid advertising, you pay your money and you can see everything. If you can't get in there yourself, and I would advise you get some help, because those stats, that information that you get back on paid advertising is invaluable. It allows you to drive left, right, turn a corner. It is amazing. If you can read those hieroglyphics, if you can read those numbers, that is a pathway to success. Sorry, but, and that's proven in my eyes. Outreach. Everybody calls it now social media and all the rest of it. Outreach is just connecting. It's connecting. The old days it used to be PR and that side of things. And I still think there's a depth for that. You know, there's some of the traditional stuff. But outreach, and it depends on your product, it depends on your marketplace. But you've got to use that, and we all know it. And I've just come back full circle. Analysis. Whatever you do post-launch, my focus on post-launch is the marketing side of it. There's a few other bits that I will touch on if I've got some time. But you've got to be able to measure it. I see so many sites where they say, well, we're doing this, we're doing that, we're doing the other. So, well, show me the results. Just show me what you did and what the result was. Because if you can't do something and show the result, a lot of people go, well, you know, we know we got more sales. Well, how many sales? Where did they come from? Why did you get those sales? If you can get the analysis, and you can nowadays, and I can't go on about it strong enough, do the analysis, understand it. I'd rather do two things really well and understand exactly who clicked what, why, where and when, and what I got from it, than do 10 things and go, yeah, we're doing pretty well, we've made a few more sales this month. Because when you don't make the sales the month after, you're not going to know why you didn't. Analysis also gives you that flexibility. This is such a fast-moving marketplace, as you'll probably hear, that basically what you did last month, you need to do something different this month, or another competitor will come in, or another product will have come in, or you need to change your products. So you can't do enough about that. Post-launch, one last thing. The only other thing on post-launch is just considering how you're going to get longevity out of your product range and your customers. How you're going to make the most of your customers. I'm going to shut up now. I've done my 4 bits. I think I've flitted into the 10 minutes, and I'm going to hand over. Who's the next victim? Thank you.